Welcome to Speak for Yourself. I'm Jason Whitlock. Colin Cowherd is out today. I'm starting to believe that we, the media, have ruined the NBA. Our obsession with individual legacies has contributed to perverting the NBA style of play. That was my takeaway from Houston's sloppy Game 5 victory over the Golden State Warriors last night. The Rockets won a close game, but it's hard for me to identify anybody who played well. Yeah, Chris Paul had a decent stretch in the third quarter, but he finished 6 of 19 from the field and a negative 13 plus minus. James Harden missed all 11 three-pointers he shot. Golden State's big four, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, combined for 15 turnovers. Draymond absolutely wet his pants in the final 10 seconds, failing to call a timeout on a free throw rebound and falling down on a critical late possession. And Durant, the second best player in the league, has one field goal in the last two fourth quarters combined. You can blame the Hall of Famers for choking. I blame those of us in the media for wrapping our hands around their throats. Sure, AAU basketball culture is responsible for a portion of the NBA's one-on-one style, but our hands are not clean. Every day there's a new referendum on LeBron's legacy, Durant's legacy, Chris Paul's legacy. For us in the media, these games are not about the Rockets, Cavaliers, or Warriors. They're strictly about where James, Curry, Durant, Paul, Harden stack up in regards to history. Should we be surprised that players revert to one-on-one isolation play whenever they get the chance? Should we be surprised they melt under the pressure? LeBron James isn't competing against the Celtics tonight. He's taking on Michael Jordan's ghost and what we'll say about his character in the aftermath. Magic, Michael, and Larry didn't deal with this unfair reality. I wonder how their play and emotional stability would be affected had they been subjected to a daily deluge of national nitpicking. Kevin Durant can't handle it. He thought winning the title with Golden State would fix everything. It hasn't. During the regular season, the Warriors were one of the great passing and movement teams in the league. They looked completely different last night. Steve Kerr had to beg Durant to let his teammates get involved.
When MJ was with the Bulls, we had a playoff game, and he kept trying to score. And he was scoring, but we weren't getting anything going. Phil Jackson said, "Who's open?" I said, "John Paxson." I want you to trust your teammates early. What you're doing is you're getting to the rim, and then you're trying to hit them. I want you to trust the first guy.
Remove Game 3, and Durant has 4 total assists in this series. I'm sure Russell Westbrook is watching this series, cackling and rolling a blunt. We thought Russ was the only reason OKC couldn't win a title. Not true. The LeBron versus Michael NBA we created, it's nearly impossible for any team with superstars to consistently embrace a team-first style of play. And the players' obsession with legacy is hurting the product. It's just bad basketball. All right, joining me now, I'm surrounded by former NBA players Eddie House, Dante Jones, Cuttino Mobley. Guys, someone tell me that I'm wrong. We are obsessed with legacy. That obsession has spread to the players, and it's hurting the product.
Well, you're wrong in this situation. There's not one player that's played that's been a superstar that's not worried about their legacy. All these players worry about their legacy, and we talk about Magic and Bird. You said they didn't worry about. Yeah, they did. Their legacy was bringing the NBA back from the dark ages, basically when they were tape delayed. The NBA was tape delayed. They spearheaded the NBA comeback. Jordan's legacy was, I need to beat Bird. I need to be better than Magic. I need to be better than Bird. And his legacy is about beating them and finally dethroning them and taking NBA basketball global.
Well, Bird and Magic said that, right? During the documentary. Bird was, I was obsessed. I would look in the paper the next day and see what Magic did. Now it's magnified.
And
Twitter,
that's what
Instagram.
How
Facebook.
can you chase a ghost, though? Bird is chasing Magic. Magic is chasing Bird. They actually compete against each other. We got LeBron chasing somebody
No,
he
y'all
never
got
seen.
him chasing
No,
him.
And so is LeBron.
I don't think he's chasing. I think he's just trying to be the best he can be. I seriously doubt LeBron is chasing Magic or Michael. He just wants to be a part of it. He just wants to be a part of the. He doesn't really.
He puts out his stats.
To piggyback what you said, Larry Bird, only thing he had to look to was the paper next morning to see what Magic did.
Right.
He didn't have to deal with the social media culture of proving everyone wrong, or the overexposure to negativity, of all these opinions that what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, of how you should be living your life or how you should be playing. That exposure is what off the court. What he's talking about for my legacy, branding, what you should be responsible for. Like, that is clouding the minds of today's athletes. So it is helping the sports in general. It's making the games bigger and more worldwide, but also it's diminishing the product, because now people are not worried about what they're doing on the court. They're worried about all the things. So basketball may be becoming a 1B rather than a 1A of my brand, of what I am, or what I'm supposed to be doing, or how I'm supposed to be playing if I'm doing it the wrong way. The comments part of everything and the negativity of people's opinions, you only had to deal with a beat writer's opinion or a couple sports writers' opinion on TV at that point in time, but now you have to deal with too much.
Right, and that's a great point. To go back to Jason's, as far as like AAU, right? You think of all those different things. Everybody's friends now. So it's kind of hard to kill your friend. It's kind of hard to really compete against guys you see every single day. You see them since you were 10 years old. And when I was younger,
No, it's not.
But I'm saying when
I was
younger,
friend, and when we compete each other in the summertime and on the court, what we do.
But that's different, right? Because there's the mentality. You grew up
Different
right
era.
there, all next to
You're
you.
right.
The eras are different.
It's not hard, just the errors
Right?
are
My
different.
son's playing with somebody 8 years old. He knows playing with the same person 12, and then 15, and then you're in the pros or college or whatever it is. It's kind of hard. You know, Jeff Van Gundy always said, listen, the fraternizing we don't want.
Same with
It's
Pat
hard
Riley.
to compete. Why am I fraternizing with this guy, going out with this guy, doing this with this guy, and then now I'm going to compete with this guy? The fire's not there.
I will grant you there are other factors, but when I look at the style of play and why it's all so individual, one-on-one, everybody is now iso ball. That to me is an expression of this. What's transpiring out on the court is about me.
Yeah.
It is not about the team.
Okay.
It's not about the winning. And because again, guys will jump from team to team to team, chasing their championship.
You get
I think
mad
the
at
media
LeBron
has
for that, though.
perpetuated that, though. The media is the one that's putting that out there. It's always been ISO basketball. It's always come down to one-on-one ISO basketball.
Steve and I.
It's always come down to that. You have your best players. When everything else fails, throw to them, get them out the way. You're going to run your offense, and everybody's going crazy
What's
right
the difference with me giving the ball to Akeem Olajuwon and let him do his thing?
Nothing.
If
That's
they
a big-
double,
that's an
Wait,
ISO.
Hold on. If they
That's an
double,
ISO.
that's an ISO. If they double, right, he has to kick it out.
You
I
can't
think
hold
you
on,
don't
hold
like-
on for 1 second. You can't tell me dumping it to Hakeem, dumping it to Kareem is the same as someone crosses the ball, crosses half court at 19 seconds, stands at the top of the key, doing all this.
I understand your point.
For
What-
15
What
seconds.
he
Understand
doesn't
your
like,
point.
what he doesn't like is the fact that guys, his definition of ISO is coming across half court and pounding the air out the ball.
And
but
four
you could
guys
ISO
waiting.
at the elbow like Kobe. You ISO Kobe, he gets it. He's just not going to pound it.
Michael Jordan.
To death. Jordan, he's going to get it. And
Unfortunately,
he can ISO.
you're watching that series and you're making it a microcosm of what the NBA is right now, and it's not because
No, it's not.
because to beat Golden State, that's what you have to do. They switch everything. They put you in one-on-one situations. That's why most teams can't beat them. So when we beat them in the finals, we had two of the best one-on-one players in the world. Now, Houston does the same thing back to them, so that's why it looks that bad in the game, because they're the same two defense. When you switch everything, you have to be one-on-one players at that point in time.
Everybody's 6'6",
You
6'7",
can't,
6'8".
right, there's no more rotations,
Okay,
so,
but
so
Dante-
that's why they put you in that for that game, for this series.
Golden State, one of the best passing and movement teams in the league.
Because movement doesn't
they've now
work.
gone to
They're playing like Houston right
Yeah.
now.
because-
Houston is taking them out their game.
Because
though.
Houston is playing their defense, so movement is not going to work on people who just keep switching, staying in the same spot. You're not going to get the movement.
There's no
because
slips, there's no nothing.
There's no
There's
pick and
mismatches.
rolls.
You
There's
can't
no
slip,
pin downs. They switch
You can't
everything.
slip. You can't
Slipping
slip
into-
you
but-
come and slip
Back
just,
door,
just,
but I'm saying,
but if
just
you
to
slip
make
it-
the back
but
end of the
there's
D
a
react.
Steve
That's
Nash.
all you want to do.
There's a Steve Nash. There's a Mark Price. There's a
Let
there's
me
a
ask
James
y'all
Brown.
this. Let me ask y'all this. Do you think this style of play is as good or as entertaining as what Magic and Larry produced and what Michael and his era
totally
produced?
different.
I don't.
Totally
it was different. Is it as good?
No, I'm just saying because
It's
listen,
just
when
as
you grow
good
up
right
something-
now for what's going on.
But how about this one? When you grow up, when your mom cooking or whatever it is, you think it's the best in the world, right? Because that's just in your mind psychologically, right?
in.
So when we growing up, that's what made us feel good as kids. That's what we are identifying with psychologically. Now you're getting older, it's like, oh man, This not like that.
It's too
like
deep.
it was before.
It's two defenses that are forcing you to do inefficient
That's what we're
things.
thinking.
And I don't think it's the stars. I mean, again, I'm gonna go back to my point. All superstars and guys that play, they worry about their legacy. What did Kobe do when Shaq left? I got to win 2 more to cement my legacy that I didn't need Shaq to win a championship.
That's exactly
what
true.
did Ricky Henderson do when he stole his base and broke the record? He picked it up. Today I am the greatest.
Yeah,
no, but I'm
the
saying
most narcissistic athlete.
But I'm saying though, at the same time, because the legacy does matter, and as long as it doesn't affect them moving forward or the team, I think it's fine. But I got a question for you, right? Do you worry about your legacy?
No.
So you don't say that you're the best sports writer of all time, or you want to be. That means that you want to be.
It's already
been
decided. When you're the GOAT, you don't have to.
So you are worried about your legacy.
I'm not worried about it because it's already been decided.
But at what point were you thinking about it? You were thinking like, I'm trying to be the best, so you had to be thinking about it, right? Your legacy.
What's known doesn't
and if you're
need
a star, right?
Eddie.
And if you're a star, right? If you're a star, then
Passive aggressively, you say it.
Yeah, exactly.
You still say it.
But listen, there's a difference between making everything. When I look at LeBron, everything's about him. He's putting out he praises himself. He plays a style of play a lot of times on offense, this isolation ball.
Why do you say he praise himself?
People kill LeBron
LeBron
for
James
passing
just said a
too
couple
much.
years ago, for the first time, I am the best. Which he is. Why do you not
It
say
doesn't need to be said. I don't say it about myself, but it doesn't need to be said.
But you don't have a
It's the
mirage
thing.
of the media telling you that what you're doing.
That's what it is. It is
Comparing
the media,
you
man.
every day.
It's not. I don't think it's so much the stars. It's more so the media. Again, is the ones that are putting this out here. That's making it
People are
a
beating
bigger
them up, too,
story than what
right?
everything is.
I would agree. The only thing I will say when y'all defend this, what I'm watching now, I'm looking at Golden State and Houston. I don't see transition. I don't see fast break. And again, maybe I am just an old man dreaming about Magic and Showtime Lakers.
Listen, the deeper you get into playoffs, you have to eliminate the easy things.
So they
They're
are
the easy
eliminating.
things.
Yeah.
Do you see this? You see what Boston did to LeBron when he was on a fast break in Game 5? Every single time, you know what they did? They wrapped them up.
Wrap him up.
They wrapped them up.
No more layups.
They did that. Shaq in the beginning, he's dunking and ones. Then they start wrapping them up. Shaq used to get mad. Now I can't make my free throws. You get tired. You have to do something else.
Like
you
wear
can't keep
people
giving them their
down by
steady
doing that,
diet.
being that
Okay,
physical.
I didn't include the Celtics almost in any of this discussion. They play a different style of ball, and it's almost going to ruin LeBron James. Why can the Celtics and Brad Stevens stay in their lane?
You know why? Let me tell you why.
What?
Because they're young with no ego yet. You give them a year or two, and guess what? The egos are coming.
Not only
Two
that,
different
though,
defenses,
No,
too.
but
And
not
they're
only
two
that,
different,
you act
yeah.
like they don't ISO. Jason Tatum ISOs all the time.
All day.
Two different defensive
Jason
philosophies.
Tatum ISOs
Kyrie
all
Irving,
day.
even though he's not playing, that's what he is.
Cavs don't switch everything. Cavs don't have the personnel to switch everything like Houston does, like Golden State does. They can't switch all your offensive things going on. They just have to play it straight up and play
They dumped that
traditional
ball
style
down.
of
They dumped that
defense.
ball down to Al Horford how many times?
They tried.
That's one-on-one.
Right.
You know, I invited you on this show to be on my side.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He ride with the player.
I'm sorry.
At Buffalo Wild Wings, we'll admit that we often go overboard with our limited time offerings. We just can't help ourselves. Take our new signature sampler. For $15, you get wings and 3 shareable options like fried pickles or cheese curds. Then there's our aptly named over-the-top nachos, a literal mountain of crispy tortilla chips loaded with your choice of pulled pork or honey barbecue grilled chicken, corn, jalapenos, and more. Then top it all off with our new platinum margarita. Go overboard with us today at Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Available for a limited time while supplies last. Please drink responsibly. All right, welcome back. Eddie House and Coutinho Mobley are back. We're joined now by the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to Houston, where the Rockets held on in another close game last night, beating the Warriors to take a 3-2 series lead, but losing Chris Paul for Game 6 after he suffered a hamstring injury in the final minute. You might think the injury helps clear the path for the Warriors back to the finals, but to me, it actually puts pressure on Golden State. If they do not win this series now, with Chris Paul out of Game 6, if he plays in Game 7, surely he'll be damaged. This would be very embarrassing if Golden State somehow doesn't win this series.
Why do you think that would be embarrassing?
No Chris Paul, and you're you got the Big Four. You're the perennial favorite to win the title.
It would be a knock. It would be a knock to them, especially with trying to become a dynasty. if you're a dynasty, if they lose one of their best players, basically Chris Paul has been one of the guys that's been consistent offensively for him. You know, even though he had that one rough game, I want to say that was game 2 where he had, 13 points. He still is like the backbone and the glue on that team. Hard-nosed defender, gets steals, controls the pace. Let's not forget, neither one of these teams have scored 100 points in the last 2 games, and that's part of Chris Paul controlling the pace. That's what he does, and that goes unnoticed. That's not in the stat sheet. But it would definitely be a knock on Golden State if they. I mean, it would have to be lightweight embarrassing.
You're saying embarrassing. That's a bit
embarrassing is strong.
It would have to be lightweight.
A knock, yes, because you have so many other dominant players on the opposite team, right? As Golden State does. But I mean, listen, Houston Rockets played without Chris Paul this year and won a lot of games. Like, let's not mistake that part.
But it wasn't against the Warriors.
But it doesn't matter. You have a confidence now that you can beat them. P.J. Tucker's still hitting some shots.
They're playing 7 players. They're down to 6 now.
Whitlock, we're forgetting.
You're going to have to find
This is a
somebody
team.
else, though.
They won, Coutinho, 65 games in the regular season.
Exactly.
Okay? Home court advantage. They've got the MVP of the league, James Harden. We know he's going to win the MVP. This is a team that hasn't lost back-to-back games, the Rockets, since January. Okay, yes, the Warriors would be a total disappointment if they lost, but embarrassment? I mean, I think we're underestimating the Rockets a little bit. I underestimated them. I don't know about you guys.
The Warriors would hurt. I mean, a lot of those guys were hurt a lot this year, too. If they make it this year, that's 4 years in a row. Am I correct?
Yeah,
this would be 4.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's why. That's a lot.
Let's talk some reality. If I had told you before this series, Chris Paul's going to miss 2 of the 7 games, you would have thought, no way in hell.
I mean,
5 games.
Maybe before the
Max.
series.
Yes.
The one thing, guys.
The dynamics is Iguodala, right? Andre, I mean, come on. If he's, I'm just saying, if he was playing, he's
Right,
really
the series
good.
is over.
If he was playing, the series would not be what it is right now.
I'm
You
not
have Looney in there. You have the kid from Duke,
Quinn
Cook.
Yeah.
You have them
He's
in
in
there
the
at
deep
crucial
league.
times.
But look, I think we're glossing over what the real factor is in the last 2 losses, and that's the turnovers. The Big 4, they have combined for 26 out of the 32 team turnovers in the last 2 games. And one guy in particular who I've started to really, really like is spearheading all of the turnovers, and that's Draymond Green. In Game 4, he had 5 turnovers. In Game
6
5,
last night.
he had 6, and 1 crucial there at the end. So, and another thing, they're not playing their brand of basketball, to your point, as far as they're playing a lot of ISO. They usually move the basketball a lot. Up in the one of the top teams in assists.
But Eddie, that has
12
a
assists
lot-
on 30 field goals.
has
That
a
means the
lot
ball's
to
not
do with
moving.
Iguodala not being.
18 assists on 32 field goals. The ball's
Iguodala's not in
moving.
that game to be a point forward. You have Looney in the game. You have other guys that can't make shots and make plays when you're swinging it. So it's only 4 guys around the perimeter.
Them turnovers.
It's
And
different.
to his point about embarrassment and before the series, right? One thing that I think everybody underestimated was heart and desire. When you watch what P.J. Tucker's doing defensively, this is a guy who was overseas for 5 years, came back to the NBA. He's like 32 years old. Trevor Ariza, a veteran, 33. These guys have never won squat. And to watch them out there on the court,
Well, Trevor's
fighting.
won an NBA title. He was
He-
good.
Right, he was good. But again, this is on a 65-win team where they're like role players.
Jason,
And just watch it.
Jason,
I underestimated
Jason,
them.
And I get that, but Kevin Durant, second best player in the league, you argue best player in the league. Right now in the 4th quarter, he's an embarrassment.
Yeah.
And if that continues, how can losing this series not be an embarrassment? The guy cherry-picked to jump to a championship team, and he got his championship, and now this year he's not delivering, and it looks like Mr. Unreliable all over again. Do y'all remember that headline
Yes,
in
I do.
OKC?
Oklahoma.
That's what it looks like.
No, that's a
again.
very fair point. And when you look at the 4th quarter, Coutinho, I'm sure you've seen this. Okay, the passes, the Warriors led the league in passes all year. They're not passing the ball in the 4th quarter.
That goes to my
This,
point with
me,
these assists.
But it's not
the
on
field goals. Usually they
necessarily
have
Durant.
a higher amount of assists. But again, let's not be prisoners of the moment. 15 out of 16 of their turnovers in Game 4 came from the Big 4. They only lose by 3 with a chance to tie or win with 2 great open looks. Game 5, 11 out of the 16 turnovers by the Big 4. They lose by 4. 18 points off in both of those games off of those turnovers. If they cut that down, cut that in half, the Warriors are winning by 8 points or more. But that you cannot give any team extra possession.
The dynamics are so different, right? I'm looking at possession ball, right? And as you know, possession ball, like you said, you're losing by 3, you're losing by 1, you're losing by possession here or there. 2 games ago, Kevin Durant gets the ball, dribbling up the court on the right side, veers to the middle, passes the ball to Klay Thompson. Difficult situation. Klay's trying to clear. Difficult situation. Klay makes a bad shot. Houston Rockets win 95-94, I think, right?
92, yeah.
Oh, no, whatever.
92.
Whatever it is,
Point.
right? Kevin Durant, if you're not going to advance that ball early on, like Steve Kerr said, if you're not going to advance it early, now you have to be the hero. You have to be
Or
that
you could
guy.
call timeout if you're the coach.
Right.
And the space,
but the
the
dynamics for a lot of these guys, with Looney in the game or Cook in the game instead of Andre in the game, during the course of the game, Stephen Curry's coming back, new series for him. Who's the guy to close games out? Right?
They're missing
all
their brains. Iguodala is the smartest guy on the team.
He's the smartest
and
guy.
They can't think in
turn the
closing
ball
time.
over.
I'm telling you.
That's the main thing.
All right, welcome back. Eddie House and Dante Jones are back. We're now joined by former NFL head coach Eric Mangini. Let's move to the NFL and its new anthem policy, which not surprisingly has provoked some strong reactions, including from people praising the decision like President Trump, as well as from some people who aren't such big fans, like Warriors head coach Steve Kerr.
I think it's just typical of the NFL. They're just playing to their fan base, and they're just, basically trying to use the anthem as fake patriotism, nationalism, scaring people. It's idiotic, but that's how the NFL has handled their business, and I'm proud to be in a league that understands patriotism in America is about free speech and about peacefully protesting. And I think our leadership in the NBA understands that when the NFL players were kneeling, they were kneeling to protest police brutality, to protest racial inequality. They weren't disrespecting the flag or the military, but our president decided to make it about that. The NFL followed suit, pandered to their fan base, created this hysteria. This is kind of what's wrong with our country right now. Is people in high places are trying to divide us, divide loyalties, make this about the flag, as if the flag is something other than what it really is. It's a representation of what we're about, which is diversity and peaceful protests and right to free speech. So it's really ironic, actually, what the NFL is doing.
This one's tough for me because he's pushing me in a direction where I could get emotional. And it's some of the dumbest things I've ever heard said, some of the most dishonest things I've ever heard said. He was a player in the NBA when Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf got run out of the NBA for his peaceful protest. He was immediately suspended and fined, unlike Colin Kaepernick, who got to do it all season. And so to sit up here and grandstand like the NBA is this utopian place and the NFL is some ass-backwards place for bigots drives me crazy. It's dishonest, and it's a lie. They've adopted basically the same policy the NBA did, and no one is calling David Stern, who did it without consulting any players, a bigot and a racist. So, and Steve Kerr's smart enough to know that. So this can only just be willful ignorance and lying. That's all it can be. Someone help me explain why the NFL is being trashed as this racist utopia, and the NBA, which has the same policy and has had it for 2 decades, is the greatest place on earth.
Well, I think the reason is what Steve Kerr was trying to get to is that the silent protest, the getting on the knee, wasn't about the flag. It wasn't about patriotism. It wasn't about the national anthem. It was about social injustice and police brutality. And that's the only way that if you look at the NFL players, not a lot of people know their face because they're behind the helmet, the face mask. They don't really know how they look walking down the street. So that was their opportunity. That's their platform to go out there and say, hey, we want to speak on this. I don't see where there's a problem with that. And the NBA, you can't take a knee. but you can wear a T-shirt that says "I can't breathe." That's a silent protest.
Pregame warm-ups, that's not during the anthem.
But still, pregame war, you still using
That's not during the anthem.
But what's the difference? It's not like they're disrespecting. What's the difference between a fan while he's taking a knee silently, not doing nothing, standing up for social injustice, and a
paid
fan
employees in the NFL
and a fan
NBA.
comes out there and he's talking, drinking beer like this,
Fans aren't
and not
paid
standing up?
employees of the NFL. They're not part of the TV show.
I know they're not part
It's
of
a TV show. And the owners or the producers of the TV show
that TV
and the
show
television
and
network.
the NBA TV show when I wear I Can't Breathe
During
or I have
warm-ups.
Trayvon Martin on my. But we see them during warm-ups. They talk about players while they're warming up. The guys are talking about, oh yeah, he averaged this many points in the last 4 games, and they're showing that shirt. That's a silent protest.
I give you a different take on this, Jason.
Yeah, please.
The NBA has been. I hear what he's saying, and the NBA has been more progressive in situations like this, and they've been more.
What situations?
Can I
No,
finish?
I'm asking.
So they attack things head on. So with the Mahmoud Rauf situation, they attacked that he was suspended. He was suspended for violating the rule. He wasn't deflective of what he was doing. They respected what he was doing. You just violated the rule, and you have to be suspended. We didn't deflect and say that he was being unpatriotic. He was doing this. The rules in the NBA, we have a ridiculous amount of rules, but they choose to penalize you when they want to, according to what's going on. The dress code rule, we had that, and we are part of that, right? Yeah. And when it was first installed, they were to the T. You had to have this, and this on. Well, that rule's still here. You know that, right? Yeah. And people are still wearing whatever they want to because now the image of the league has been cleared up. So now we're in a different area, and the NBA chooses to attack things that matter at the time. But when it happens, they deal with it right away, and they don't deflect on what's going on.
But the thing with the NBA, though, they have this rule in place, and it really hasn't been tested.
It's tested on a nightly basis.
We're talking about the anthem rule. That we haven't seen that tested.
Anybody take a knee?
No, we have not seen that tested from the NBA.
It's tested in a different capacity because some guys go to the bathroom, some guys don't show up. The rule states you have to be there, you have to be uniform, and you have to
stand.
You have to stand. But some guys just don't participate. And NBA comes and has conversations behind closed doors. Like, listen, we need you to be there. We need you to be part of this because they need the camera angles in some respect because that's a big part of their production. So it is challenged, but it's just not made to be something that it's not.
Okay, well, maybe it's not apples to apples, but I'd like to see what they do if someone did kneel during the national anthem and what the reaction would be.
They'll get fined.
Because they did put out a memo reminding people about the rule that was in place. And reminding teams that there was that in place. Now, the thing with Steve Kerr, the fact that he's not acknowledging that, I don't think it is a fair assessment. I think a lot of things that he says has value, but there is a rule in place in the NBA. They did remind the players about it. We haven't seen how they will react to it. And to me, it's
Dante, we all know, Adam Silver's had conversations with NBA players about not doing this.
Because he creates a dialogue and it says.
But also he's a good businessman.
Right. And okay, so they've attacked it in a more progressive manner rather than saying
I would disagree.
This is the rule.
Hold for a second. Because earlier you insinuated that NFL owners somehow have said, hey, you're being unpatriotic. No, because that has not happened.
That's not what I said. I said they deflected and made it an issue of patriotism rather than
NFL owners haven't done that.
Rather, it's just in a rule. They didn't attack why they're doing
done that. Fans have attacked and said, hey, this is unpatriotic, and they've reacted to it because, again, if your customers, and again, if you own a business and your customers start complaining, owners tend to react. And so these guys aren't evil dictators. And again, show me. Okay, show me. The NFL owners have ponied up $100 million
absolutely correct.
For the causes that Malcolm Jenkins and the Players Coalition say there are important. Have the NBA owners ponied up $100 million, or did they let you? Oh, we'll let you. No.
Owners, though.
No, yes, we are. We're comparing leagues versus league. So don't tell me about. Hey, we're more progressive because they let you wear a T-shirt, or because they let LeBron make a commercial, or because we wear equality across our shirt. That's all symbolism.
Let's keep it 100. They ponied up because they have an issue. They have an issue.
Whatever the regard.
But that's why they ponied up. They didn't pony up right out the gate and say, we're going to give this money up. They pony up because they have a media issue right now. So the NBA didn't have a reason to pony up. But all I'm saying is, I'm not demonizing NFL owners. I'm just saying they had an opportunity to address it and say, you know what, you're violating the rule. We're going to put this in place. We're
I
going to
wanna
attack it
ask
head
Coach
on.
a question.
They let it linger.
Do you think that this new rule, do you think it's going to bring teams together, or do you think it's going to create some divisions between not only the organization itself, but coaches and players against each other, and then also players within that locker room? Is that going to cause more division than bringing things together?
Well, just like the NBA situation, at least now there's clarity. They've said this is what is in place, and you can make a decision. And
so you can have half in and half out.
But
it's not over
it's
yet.
actually a little bit more progressive than the NBA rule, because they give someone the option to stay in the locker room. If the NBA was as progressive as they say they are, why don't they abolish the rule? Why do you need why have a rule and then not enforce it? Why not say they can do, guys can do whatever they want to do?
If the NBA is woke, as everyone says they are, we got Sterling Brown on video being abused by the police, a current NBA player. If Steve Kerr wants to pony up, take his team off the court during the national anthem, he leave the court during the national, he kneel during the national anthem. He's free to do any of it.
And nobody,
but instead, what he would rather do is virtue signal by taking pot shots at the NFL rather than manning up and showing some courage of his convictions and do something about what's going on in the NBA. There's no pressure on NBA players to do a damn thing about Sterling Brown, but we want to clown the NFL ownerships, and all the players. And Eddie, you just asked a question to him about, do you think the new rule is going to cause division? And as if the NFL owners should be concerned about that.
I'm talking about just the players and coaches. The owners they ain't tripping.
I understand that. When Colin Kaepernick took a knee, I wonder if this is going to cause division. I wonder if this is going to cause any problems in the locker room and around the league. Or did he
going to
just
bring
do
awareness to what he wanted to try to do?
He was tunnel vision about him. The players that followed in the suit about what they wanted to do. And so if the players have the right to do what they want to do, NFL owners, you know what? This is our platform. We pay the bills. Y'all got kids. It ain't no different than having kids in your house. When you pay, I get to make the rules. And when you get grown enough to own one of these teams, then you come in here and make the rules. It's just that simple. We need to quit lying on the NFL and lying to these athletes and everybody else that what they're doing is promoting a conversation about kneeling about the anthem. It's not bringing an awareness to police brutality. It's a hey, look at me deal, and everybody virtue signaling over social media. And get off the NFL and clean up your own damn house. All right, welcome back. Eddie House, Dante Jones, and Cuttino Mobley are back. Let's move to Cleveland, where LeBron and the Cavaliers will try to stave off elimination tonight at home after getting roughed up again in Boston Wednesday night. LeBron was completely gassed at the end of the game, and even Ty Lue admitted his water-chugging star looked a little tired. Even still, LeBron said he hasn't changed his preparations for tonight.
No, it doesn't change. I mean, it's the same routine for me. I'm just trying to get as much optimal sleep as possible. Stay in the training room, with your treatment, and also put in the work as well to keep your body in tune and in rhythm. So, it doesn't change.
All right, listen, everybody's talking about LeBron's fatigue. I think it's mental. I don't think it's physical. I think we celebrate LeBron for all his mobility and freedom, and he signs these one-year contracts, and I may go here and I may go there. And it creates all this conversation and pressure on a team, on LeBron, on the entire organization, on the fan base. He's mentally fatigued, and that is showing up physically, but the dude is made of vibranium. It's only what's in his head that has him worn out.
You know you brought me on to say I agree. That one right there, it goes mental to physical.
I'll say
it definitely does.
I'll say it's a bit of both, but really I agree with you also, is that it's more mental. And I think the mental taxing part of it all is when they are making a comeback and he's making the right play and those guys are missing shots. You could see his energy level when he kicked it to Clarkson twice. When they were trying to make that pushback, he kicked it, Clarkson missed. You could almost see him like exhale a little bit. Then he had another opportunity. You see him miss it again. It's like, then he turns the ball over, starts getting careless. I think it's more mental than it is physical, but it's a bit of both, but it's definitely eating at him that he knows that he don't have the help that he really, really needs.
I would expect somebody else to say that than you two, because that's my first time ever seeing him look like that in his face, in his movements. Like some days as athletes, we just don't have it. We could do everything right, and you get on that court and you just like,
He's
it's
so
like
good
it's
that
not
if
even.
he don't have it, he
no,
still
and
got it.
I think we've made this man to be a machine, made of vibranium, all that. He's a human being. Some days he just doesn't have it, and the one day just happened to be in May on one of the world's biggest stages. And he didn't have it. But in the day he didn't have it, what did he have? 26 and 10? Like he
That's
just
all
didn't.
I'm saying.
He didn't have.
That's all he's saying.
He just didn't have. He didn't,
But that's all
I
he's saying.
don't even want to
though.
make it mental. I don't want to mental. I think it just you just were drained that day.
Listen to this. If I'm doing everything perfect, right?
I'm not saying perfect.
No,
if you're trying to do everything right and your body just doesn't respond one day.
If I'm being Kobe, I'm being LeBron, I'm being who I am as a star. And we're coming back, and these kids are fighting me like they're fighting me, and I go past the ball, you go past the ball, you're deflating.
But
that's
that,
mental.
Yeah, you're right.
It's not a physical.
I think that's all parts and times during the series. You're absolutely correct. That happens. That does happen. But in that game, he didn't look any different from the tip to the end of the game. He looked like from the tip when he was walking the ball up the court, when they
That's how he looked game one.
when they had breaks, he looked the same way.
Look at his body language from every game.
Game
I
one.
promise you this: if you look at that boy's body, if you look at that man's body language, when they miss shots, he's game 1, game 2,
That's-
game 3,
especially when he
game
passed
4,
to him.
especially when he passed to him,
Especially when
or
he
they
passed
miss a layup.
They're not giving energy back, and Stars needs to be given energy back.
That's what he's
You're
saying
absolutely-
about the mental. That
But
mental goes from
that
mental to
mental has
physical.
been going on for the course of the year. Like that's been
No, for sure.
those things have
But
been.
that's
No,
what
no,
I'm saying.
I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think it's a buildup. I just think he just had a bad
been going on
day
all year,
of-
so
of
it has to
energy
be
wise
built
that
up.
he couldn't. He
Ain't got that many more games left. That's why he's
But
like
something when that happens, you can't just turn it on and off. You
My
can't.
point
Your body
is,
can't.
and I know I'm gonna irritate Dante, Mr. Cleveland Cavalier.
No, I'm not.
My point is, LeBron takes a mental toll on every team he plays on because he brings the LeBron circus. Now it's well worth it and it pays off, but he does bring a circus, and you're dealing all
Wait,
year.
what's the LeBron circus?
It's just
all
the
year-
media, Brian
Just the media
Windhorst,
attention.
Brian
Oh, the media and
Windhorst
everything.
wrote an
But
article
that's
about
for
that, right?
people who are not ready for that moment. Some people want that. Some people enjoy that. Somebody live in that.
Some people
don't want it, and it's a chore for them.
Dante.
Like they're going to a hole.
If they didn't have it, you wouldn't even know him. Or
Dante,
they would
hold on.
Thank you.
Would you want to be on a team where the conversation all year, you think LeBron's going to be here
Sign
next
me
year?
up if we go into the
You think
finals.
LeBron's
I
gonna
don't
be
care
here
what the
next year?
conversation
I
is.
was 20
Let's
points.
just
Steve
get to the
Francis.
finals.
If we go to the finals, I'm trying to be there.
I
Take
was
care.
20 points, 21 points for Steve Francis, Yao Ming. The conversation was always there. And Yao Ming was everything in the world.
Well, I'm telling you, I want to watch tonight.
You either can play or you can't play.
Like-
It's very
I
simple.
don't care what the conversation is. If we go to the finals, I'm cool. We could talk about clowns, roses, whatever you want to talk about.
Did you think
as long as
Yao
we get to
Ming
the
was
finals.
leaving every year, headed back to China? Did you seriously?
Oh, he
did you
was.
think-
He went in the summer.
But it
No,
was,
I'm talking about going to be playing on another team every year.
no, but listen. Listen. We were already, playing well Stars before Yao came. When Yao came, it was a circus. And it's okay. But basketball's still basketball. The ball don't change. The rim don't change. Nothing changes. If you're able to focus, some guys can't focus.
Mind
like
you,
you
don't-
say.
and you don't
What's
have
this
the
man
most
gonna
of
do
the time
tonight,
to listen
though?
to it.
After he has a subpar game, which is under his average, he come back. He has 46, 45, 43, and 42. This is the fifth time, averaging 44, 9 rebounds and 9 assists.
gotta go.
What he doing tonight? I can't wait.
To the West, where the Rockets got some bad news today with Chris Paul being ruled out for Game 6 with a hamstring pull. Paul came into the playoffs nursing a different hamstring injury and has a history of getting hurt in the playoffs, but that didn't stop Mike D'Antoni from using a notoriously short rotation. I blame Mike D'Antoni's 7-man playing rotation for Chris Paul's injury.
No.
Why would you do that? Because he
No.
played,
Fatigue.
Because he
been
played
getting hurt since-
less than all of the Big Four.
Chris has been getting
James
hurt
played less than the
forever.
Big
Look at
Four.
his history.
Chris played less than the Big Four, and Eric played
Chris
less
has
than
been
the
getting
Big
hurt
Four.
since 2007.
Absolutely.
Hamstring,
Durability
knee,
is one of his issues.
everything.
Period.
Finger.
Why not protect
Broke
him?
his finger.
But how do you protect
You can't
someone?
get him
How
out
do you
there.
protect that?
A 7-man rotation?
That's a dog. You're protecting what? Listen, I got protected during the season, and you were hurt then.
He won't
Now
sit
it's
down.
playoff time.
Man,
I ain't got time
it's
to
only
protect
4
you.
more minutes he's playing. In these 5 games, he's averaging 36, almost 37 minutes a game. He averaged 32 in the
Facts.
regular season.
Playoff
so this
intensity.
This is
Eddie,
normal.
playoff
But you in
But you didn't
shape.
even. You were injured in the season.
You in shape.
He was injured since 07.
He won't
Same
sit down.
things.
Number one, he won't sit down.
Hamstring, knee.
And,
Right.
your goal with Mike
Since 07,
D'Antoni
it's
is
2018.
to win a basketball game. You take one game at a time and win with the pieces that you have. You got to go to seven-man rotation. You're supposed to win that game. You're not supposed to prepare for game five.
Listen,
game
that's
five,
Golden
6,
State.
7.
That's Golden State's
You win.
You
right?
cannot-
You win when
That's
you
with
can.
the Looney
You
and
can't blame the coach for trying to
the
win.
Cook in the game when you have AI should be in the game.
You can't
That's
blame the
thing.
coach for trying to win. Putting one of his best players out there and have to ride him. If it ain't for CP these last few games, I mean, it might have been tough for Houston to win those games. They barely snuck out with James Harden not playing well, with CP really spearheading everything and being the catalyst of that offense. So, if he ain't, I blame
Y'all making it
Chris
sound
Paul
like you
just
can't
not.
second guess the coach at all.
No, you can second guess the
not
coach.
in that
I'm not saying
situation.
that, but not in this situation. You got to go with your horse. You got to go with the best.
You gotta go with the horses, G.
You gotta go with the best.
At the end of this is May. This is not January, February.
You ain't got no
saving
do-backs.
you.
You ain't got no
It ain't no
do-overs.
do-backs.
Ain't no
It's
do-overs.
3-2 right now. Luckily.
Ain't no do-overs.
They have no shot now
Oh, a
because of
snowball
no
chance
Chris
in
Paul.
hell.
No, I wouldn't
Because
say
of
that.
Chris- They have no shot
They got a
now.
snowball chance in hell.
Because they're a dangerous team when you can prepare for Chris Paul, and they were having a hard time with that. But
How about
now,
this one? James is a rhythm player, like Steve was a rhythm player. Needs the ball a lot, right? The rhythm, jump, dribble, whatever, right? Maybe Chris Paul threw him off. Maybe this next game, James Harden becomes he makes his threes.
But
he comes to life. Maybe that happens.
I think what's been happening with him is he's been playing better defense these last two games, and it's kind of been affecting his offense. If
Right.
he's exerting a lot of energy
right. I'm
defensively,
telling you.
now he's going to have to exert that energy defensively and find it offensively.
But he's shown that
Ooh,
he can
tough
have
task.
one or two amazing games that can carry his team in the playoffs.
But he got to play D.
But he couldn't do it for a series in the conference finals. He could do one or two. But now today is that
They gonna play
the next
six
one is
and-
that
They gonna play
next one.
6 and win, huh?
Who?
Houston. They gonna play.
They may
six-
play.
no,
they may
just
play
going seven
9. They
games,
may
Golden
play
State
9 to
winning
make
that.
up
How
How many Golden State playing? 7.
It's going to
They won
7.
8 last night.
Looney and Cook.
And
I like
Nick
you. I
Young
like
got
you,
a hot-
young
Nick
guy.
Young got a hot
Listen,
second.
I like you, Looney
They
and Cook.
played
But
9.
come on.
Quinn Cook came in.
I mean,
He played good
who else?
though, man.
I mean, he okay, but come
Coming
on.
up.
Pushing out on the end, he's playing good.
All right, welcome back. Eric Mangini is here for Last Call. Let's move to Indianapolis, where Andrew Luck is still not throwing almost a year and a half after shoulder surgery that sidelined him for all of last season. New head coach Frank Reich says he's not concerned. Eric, are you concerned about Luck's future?
Yeah, I mean, Frank Wright has no choice but to say he's not concerned. But the fact that he had the surgery supposedly went great. Then he had to go on IR. Then he had to go to Europe for treatment. Have the doctors changed? Has anything changed? Until he's out there throwing on a consistent basis, you got to be concerned about this.
Yeah, like really hasn't thrown the football since November. I don't know if throwing the football at an NFL level, I don't know if that's like riding a bike. You know, I can hop on a bike right now and do pretty well. I don't know if I could take 8-9 months off of throwing a football and perform at the level Andrew Luck's supposed to.
Well, there's that component to it, and then you got to see what happens once he gets hit. Because this is just the first level. Then you got to get to that next level and see whether it withholds.
All right, to Baltimore, where Joe Flacco says he has welcomed Lamar Jackson to the team with open arms, despite reports he hadn't even returned the rookie's texts or calls. Eric, you buying what Flacco is selling here?
I think he's welcoming with open arms as much as you can for someone who's there to take your job. I think that he's probably being cordial, he's probably being nice to him, but he realizes why he was brought in there, so it's maybe not as warm as truly open arms.
As a head coach, what are your expectations for Joe Flacco as it relates to his relationship with Lamar Jackson?
I would expect him to be professional. I would like him to be a mentor. I think Joe Flacco's in a good place for the next 2 years. They can't really cut him next year. There's going to be $16 million in acceleration. So he's in a good spot to help Lamar in the short term. And Lamar can help that team with the packages that he's in.
I don't blame Joe Flacco for being a little salty, but I don't blame the Baltimore Ravens for drafting another quarterback. Joe Flacco needs to get better. Happy weekend.